Hello everyone, this is Pamper Chew. This last few weeks I've been working on my car. It's been in the 90s and up to the hundreds, so I've been kind of slow about it, but my head gasket went out the day after I got the car. So I disassembled it. I took the head off, I had it machined down. It's sitting over here. Say hi to Rob. And okay, here it is. So here's all the parts. I'm doing all the work myself. This is the first time taking apart an engine, so I've been reading the manual and everything. But there's my head assembly. I had it machined because these aluminum heads can warp pretty easily, especially when they weren't torqued down properly. And here, I'll take it out in the sun. Alright, so here's the top part. This is the lifters and springs, and your camshaft is right in the center there in this type of car. In the Camaro, the cam would be down in the bottom, so it's a little more difficult to take that one apart, and I'm going to do that next. But I figured this would be an easy engine to learn how to work on. And once looking at the manual for it, the engine that shows the pieces all spread apart, I can pretty much in my mind manipulate mechanically how things work. So it's really simple to me, and it makes sense. Everything is simple for that. It's for me on this. So for like taking it apart, and so it took me about 2 hours to take it apart. I think it's going to take maybe 2 to 4 to put it back together. There's my timing belt pulley there. I marked it in 5 places because it has to be exactly where it was, otherwise the valves will open at the wrong time and could crash right into one of the pistons there. But I'm just going to make sure to get all the water out of the holes there. I got torque tools, and this needs to be torqued to something like 65 Newton meters for the head, and then for the other two, for your intake manifold and the exhaust manifold, which is sitting over there, those have to be torqued properly also. And here's the new gaskets I got, Apex. And they're all very fragile, so you gotta be careful and keep them flat. But this will be my first head gasket replacement, and I'll start putting it together. I also took the license plate off the bottom there because it was blocking about half of the, well, maybe a third of the air vent there, so I was hoping that would help with cooling at least a little bit. But yeah, the symptoms were for a blown head gasket. In this case, I tested I took this off and turned it over, and water would shoot out of it. Basically what's happening, there's a crack between your water, one of the water holes. I see those are bolt holes, don't look at those, but like I think that's for water. And if there's a crack between, let's say, the exhaust and the water, or in between the piston and the water, it can be pressurizing the water much higher than the pump, and it'll kind of force water backwards, or try to, and basically you get no circulation of water. And on the engine, on the on the instrument panel, it'll show normal running temperatures because the hot water that's being stuck in the engine now is not circulating. So that was a major problem. And what would happen, it just started steaming out of here. And that's when I noticed something was wrong. So, okay, I'm going to start putting it back together. Alright, so here's my installation papers here. What I need to do, I need to put in these little I think this is dowel pins, and oil control jet and an O-ring, which should be in this kit that I got. Here's my head gasket, the big one. You gotta be very careful not to bend these. And that's made of graphite, I think sandwiched between some sort of, well, no, it looks like it's all graphite, maybe with copper rings, but it's a soft material that will compress and seal. What have we got here? Let me focus there. So, oh, my page flipped over. There we go. Okay. So, put that gasket on. I think I put those in first, I think. And then this is like the torquing, tells you which ones, what order to torque them down, and it says 68 Newton meters. Okay. I got my torque tools right here. And if anyone wants to see, this is what the valves look like. Oh, and then I just noticed this. My car is from Canada. Honda of Canada. Cool. Alright, so I mistakenly said something about water going through some of these up here. Now that I put the gasket on, I remembered water circulates right around the pistons. You can see in there how there's some space. So some of these holes, I'm sure water goes in, some comes out. Because the water connects right here, so that would make sense. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I put the these little metal things slipped in. There's one here, and then the oil control jet and O-ring is still down in there. I'm not going to replace that because someone had worked on this before me pretty recently, and nothing was torqued down properly. Some of the things were just finger tight, so I'm not surprised that it failed so quickly. But so this is my head gasket, new one. I'm going to put this on, but first I think I'm going to line up that pulley so I can set it, make sure the marks are still in the correct spaces. That's very important that those match up. Hey Bonzer, say hi to the camera. This is Bonzer from my taco video. So what I decided to do is to mount this on here first and then rotate it until it matches the lines. And I think I should be able to rotate it pretty easily just by putting a wrench on here and rotating it manually. Alright, so I have it sitting on the gasket now, and next step, I'm just going to start putting in these bolts. So your head bolts here, should be 8 of them in there, and I need to torque it down to 68 Newton meters. So let's get in here. One of my last jobs, I built the robots that built semiconductors, and everything had to be torqued, so I learned all of my torquing stuff from there. So whenever you're using a torque tools, when you're done using them, you should always zero them out. So right now it should be at 0. I need to set it to, let's say, 68 Newton meters. So am I on the right side? That's foot-pounds, Newton meters. There I go. So 68.1. Is that not right? There we go. 68.1. I'll go to that, and then it'll be good. And when you're using them, you pull it until you hear the click, and you want to pull from the handle here. I don't think it really matters on the whole line, but you'll hear it click inside the end there, and that's when you stop. So it says here to do it in 2 sequences. First you tighten them down to 30 Newton meters and then to 68. This is the pattern. I need to look really closely at those numbers so I do it in the right pattern. It looks like it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going out in kind of a star pattern from the center. So pretty easy. And here's my 14 millimeter, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, I just torqued down all the bolts to 30 Newton meters and then to let's say 49, no, 68 Newton meters. So these are all torqued down properly now. Next step I'm going to do is rotate this until these lines line up to the lines I marked on the pulley there. So I gotta figure out and find a tool that's strong enough to do that. Hey, I did it! That was a hard one, trying to get it lined up just perfectly and slip it back on. But there you see my teeth marks that I made, 5 of them. And whew, that was tricky, but I got it. So now I just need to make sure that's tightened down. I'm just gonna tighten it down to 20 Newton meters. It doesn't really say it needs to be torqued properly, so. But there, that was the hard part. You know, it's all easy. From here on, I just gotta put on all the exhaust manifold gasket, intake manifold gasket, and bolt them on. Yeah. Okay, so here are the 2 other gaskets that I'm going to be using. This is the intake, and this is the exhaust. The exhaust is made of metal just because it's hotter, and the intake one I think is just, looks like cardboard almost, so some sort of cardboard, we'll call it cardboard alloy, I don't know. But just got to slip it in there, and then I'll have to bolt this back down. There's a little bolt underneath here, and the exhaust piece should be over here. Yeah, here they are. Wait, nope, there it is. There's the exhaust manifold. We'll set that right there. Then we'll get, what else do I might need right now? Well, that's the cover for the manifold. I'll get that later. Alright, so for the exhaust and intake manifold, it says to torque them down to 24 Newton meters. So I'm going to do that now. I got the gasket in for the intake manifold and it's slipped on now. I just need to put on all these nuts. And then I'll do this side. Alright, so I got the intake and exhaust manifold installed and torqued down. The next step, I'm going to put on my distributor and then the new seal for the valve cover and the valve cover. Alright, so I got the exhaust manifold cover on, dipstick in, my distributor's connected, and there's a bunch of wires and hoses down here I had to connect up. Pretty much, we got the valve cover seal put in, the new one, and I put that in, put my coolant hose, fill this with water for now, it's just summertime, and there's probably still some green stuff, antifreeze down in the engine, but I got a whole new bucket of it for winter. It doesn't really get cold here in Portland, so I don't need it till winter time. And yeah, I think then I can try starting it. Oh, spark plugs, of course. Alright, now I'm going to fill up my radiator with water, and I'm going to get a drink of water too. And then I'll just go ahead and start it up on camera. Either it'll be catastrophic failure or it'll run. Or maybe in between. We'll see what happens. Alright, I'm going to try starting it now. Batteries hooked up, everything. Let's double check. Everything is connected. Okay. Let's see what happens. Let it warm up. It sounds a little dry, so I'm going to make sure the oil's topped off here in a second. Next car will be the Camaro because it has, I think, a burnt valve. What do we got here? Brakes, door, engine light is off. Well, that's good. Sounds a little different, but you can definitely smell the oil and the antifreeze burning off, because when you take that head off, it kind of spills over into the pistons, and you know. So I'll give it some time to warm up, and then I'll take the jack and set it back down on the ground, because right now it's on some stands there. But I'm going to let it break in, heat up slowly, and oh, I should put that back on. Okay.